Cross Estate gleamed under the late autumn sun, a mansion carved from white stone, perched atop a hill overlooking the Potomac. From the outside, it was the kind of house people envied, the kind of house whose very existence whispered wealth, influence, and success. Inside, it had always felt like a gilded cage. I, Maya Cross 22, felt every bar. I had spent my entire life walking through polished marble hallways, pretending the smiles we wore were real, pretending the house didn't hum with secrets I wasn't meant to know. I glanced down at my phone, the screen glowing with notifications I hadn't opened. A single encrypted message blinked at me. Do not trust anyone. Leave before the gala. My stomach twisted into knots. I had no idea who had sent it, or why. But something about it felt urgent, visceral, like the kind of warning you couldn't ignore without paying the price. Careful. Maya? My father's voice boomed from the grand staircase. Dr. Adrian Cross, humanitarian tech mogul, inventor of medical drones, philanthropist extraordinaire, or so the world believed. In my family, he was just Dad, a man who could switch in an instant from warmth to ice. Your gala ensemble won't admire itself. I forced a smile and adjusted my dress in the mirror, a sleek navy sheath that Elena, my stepmother, had insisted I wear. Elena's world was art and perfection, galleries, auctions, high society. She had stepped into my life 5 years ago after Mom's death, wearing kindness like armor and hiding steel beneath it. But lately, even Elena's calm seemed brittle. The gala tonight wasn't just a party. It was the annual Cross Foundation Gala, where donors, politicians, and tech moguls mingled under crystal chandeliers. My father would smile, shake hands, and pass off shipments of weaponized drones disguised as humanitarian aid. No one would ever suspect. No one but me. I tightened my braid and slipped my phone into my clutch. Another message appeared instantly. Do not go near the lab. They know you're suspicious. My pulse raced. The lab, under the wine cellar, the place Julian had discovered last week. My stepbrother, 16, had stumbled on the secret before I had even processed it myself. Are you coming, Maya? Elena's voice startled me. She appeared in the doorway, eyes sharp, lips pressed into a line. She wore a black silk gown that shimmered like liquid night, perfect for the gala, but her expression was tense. Yes, in a minute. I hid my phone behind my back. Elena raised an eyebrow but said nothing. I wanted to ask her why she seemed on edge, but words caught in my throat. Something in the air prickled my senses. I felt eyes, numerous eyes on me from somewhere I couldn't see. The sound of tires crunching on the driveway drew my attention to the tall windows. 3 black SUVs had parked at the edge of the estate, their darkly tinted windows reflecting the gold of the autumn leaves. Security contractors, maybe? But their movements were too deliberate, too precise. My gut screamed, this isn't normal. I swallowed hard. Every lesson I had learned in my cybersecurity classes at NYU screamed the same thing. We were compromised. But by whom? My father? The foundation staff? Or someone outside watching us all like prey? I shoved my doubts aside and followed Elena down the sweeping staircase into the grand ballroom. The chandelier caught the late afternoon sunlight, scattering it across polished floors. Guests chatted politely, the clink of glasses blending with polite laughter. But my attention snapped to a man standing near the entryway, his sharp suit slightly wrinkled, hair slicked back, and eyes scanning the room like a hawk. I didn't recognize him, and yet, something in the way he carried himself, the precision of his movements, set every nerve in my body on fire. Julian appeared behind me, leaning on the railing. Maya, you need to see this, he whispered, nodding toward the wine cellar door at the far end of the hall. My heart hammered. That door led down to the lab. I hadn't dared go near it since last week, not knowing what I might find. I can't, I whispered back. Not now. The gala? You have to, he said urgently, eyes wide. I saw Dad and Victor. They're moving something. I don't know what, but it's big, dangerous. Victor Dane. My father's right-hand man, ex-intelligence officer turned philanthropist liaison. Tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who could smile and make you feel safe before quietly strangling the life out of everything you trusted. I glanced toward my father, who was greeting guests with a practiced grin. He looked every bit the benevolent technocrat, unaware, or pretending to be, of my suspicions. But my gut told me otherwise. Something in his posture, the slight tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes flicked toward the cellar as if measuring it like a chessboard, told me he knew I was awake to his secrets. I exhaled slowly, pretending to sip my champagne. Every instinct screamed to run, to vanish, to call someone, anyone, but I didn't know who to trust. Elena, Julian, my father? Could anyone be trusted in this house, in this family? The gala continued, a blur of laughter, handshakes, and applause. But I felt the room close in on me. Every guest was suddenly a potential spy, a potential pawn. The chandeliers above no longer sparkled. They loomed, casting long shadows that stretched across the marble floors like black fingers. I slipped away toward the side corridor, phone pressed to my chest. My thumbs moved almost of their own volition, typing a message to the unknown number. I need answers. Who are you? Why warn me? The response came almost instantly. Lab, midnight, alone, trust no one in the house. Alone. My breath caught. Could I trust Elena? Could I trust Julian? Could I even trust myself? By midnight, I found myself creeping down the marble hallway to the cellar, each step echoing ominously. The iron-bound door that led to the wine cellar had always been locked, but Julian had found a spare key. I held the flashlight close to my chest, hand trembling as I slid the key into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing stairs descending into darkness. A chill ran down my spine. I could hear the faint hum of machinery, the soft clicking of monitors, and the unmistakable whir of drone propellers. I descended slowly, every instinct screaming to flee. And then I saw it. A line of drones, sleek, metallic, mounted with small canisters that glinted under the dim lights. Each one labeled with my name, some carrying coordinates I didn't recognize. My stomach lurched. Victor's voice echoed faintly from a speaker in the corner. Project MC is ready for deployment. Confirm identity verification. My hands flew to my mouth. They're using me. My name, my identity. I'm part of this. Footsteps upstairs startled me. I ducked behind a crate, heart thundering. The cellar door rattled. Maya? Julian's voice called softly. Relief hit, quickly followed by dread. If Victor knew Julian had found this, it could mean both of our lives. I whispered back. Stay quiet. Don't let anyone see you. Suddenly, the security camera above the lab flickered to life. A voice, cold and modulated, said through hidden speakers, Welcome home, Ms. Cross. We've been expecting you. I froze. My father, or Victor, or someone far worse. My entire world, the life I thought I knew, was crumbling. And somewhere in the shadows I realized, my every move, every heartbeat, might already be part of a trap. I had a choice. Flee now, or delve deeper and uncover the truth, no matter how dangerous. My gut screamed for flight, but my mind, my inherited obsession with justice, hacking, uncovering secrets, urged me forward. I stepped deeper into the lab, flashlight shaking, my heart pounding like a war drum. Around me, the hum of machines seemed to whisper promises and threats all at once. Every drone, every document, every secret could kill me, or could help me destroy them. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. The Cross estate wasn't a home. It was a battlefield, and I was in the center of it. The basement door slammed shut behind me, echoing like a gunshot through the cold stone corridors of the wine cellar. I swallowed hard, forcing my panic down, and pressed my back against the wall. The drones, sleek, metallic, and ominous, stood silently like sentinels of a nightmare I hadn't asked to inherit. Each one carried my name, my identity, a direct link to a plan I couldn't fully comprehend. My stomach churned with the realization I wasn't just a witness, I was a target. Julian crouched beside me, his eyes wide. Maya, we shouldn't even be here. If they find us... His voice trailed off, swallowed by the hum of machinery. I know, I whispered, pressing my hand to the cold metal casing of a drone. But if we leave now, we'll never understand what they're planning. And if we do nothing, they'll frame us. Or worse. A soft beep from my pocket startled me. The encrypted phone I had received earlier glowed with a new message. Leave the estate immediately. Go to the safe house in Montreal. Trust no one in the house. They're watching you right now. Montreal? Julian asked. How are we supposed to get there? I shook my head, a mixture of fear and determination tightening my chest. We'll figure it out. But first, we need to know what we're up against. We ducked behind a stack of crates, careful not to trigger the motion sensors I could see blinking above the lab monitors. My father's voice came through the speaker system again, calm, almost fatherly, but coded in ice. Project MC is progressing well. Verification of identity is complete. Deployment schedule is set. Deployment. My heart skipped. I knew instinctively what that meant. The drones weren't for charity. They weren't even for profit. They were weapons. And my name, my identity, had been used to authorize them. I can't let this happen, I whispered to Julian. We need proof. Documents, shipment manifests, anything. Julian hesitated, then nodded. The server room, upstairs. Dad's personal office has the decryption keys. My stomach dropped. Upstairs meant passing through the very heart of the enemy's lair. Every step we took from the cellar toward the grand ballroom was a calculated risk. I moved silently, Julian close behind, ducking under the shadows of towering marble columns. The gala above was still in full swing. The laughter and clinking glasses a surreal soundtrack to the nightmare unfolding beneath. We reached the elevator that led to my father's office. Normally, it required a fingerprint scan. Julian pulled a small device from his backpack, a crude but effective bypass tool he'd cobbled together from one of my old hacking kits. The door opened with a soft click, and we stepped inside. The office was vast, filled with polished wood, awards, and books that no one had read in years. At the far end, a large desk gleamed under the soft light. On it, a laptop hummed quietly. I moved toward it, heart hammering while Julian kept watch at the door. Accessing now, I murmured, fingers flying over the keys. My training in cybersecurity classes suddenly felt more like armor than education. Lines of code, encrypted folders, shipment records. Everything spilled onto the screen. And then my breath caught. Multiple shipments were scheduled for the next month, each one carrying drones with chemical payloads to countries on international watch lists. Each one was signed under my name. Each one had the potential to spark international incidents. And every single one had my fingerprints attached as authorization. This can't be real, Julian whispered behind me. It's like you're the one responsible. I clenched my jaw. Exactly. That's why we have to leave. They're setting us up to take the fall. A sudden sound, a soft click, almost imperceptible, made me freeze. The office door had latched itself behind us. And then a voice, smooth and controlled, cut through the room. Going somewhere, Ms. Cross? Victor Dane emerged from the shadows, tall and imposing, his eyes glinting in the dim light. I see you've discovered the lab. Clever, but not clever enough. Julian froze, and I felt a cold wave of fear. Victor had always been intimidating, but seeing him now, in the same room with the truth laid bare, made the gala above feel like a distant, trivial memory. I forced myself to stand tall. What do you want, Victor? He smiled, a predator's smile, and stepped closer. I want to protect the family, and ensure that our operations continue uninterrupted. You're a bright girl, Maya, but sometimes bright girls interfere with things they don't understand. I swallowed hard. My father's betrayal, Victor's presence, the drones, the shipments, it all crystallized into a single horrifying image. My life was a chessboard, and I had just realized I was both the pawn and the target. Found cover behind a stack of shipping containers. Julian gasped for breath, eyes wide. We did it, didn't we? I shook my head, heart pounding. Partially. The shipment is neutralized, yes. But they're still out there, and Dad, he's more dangerous than ever. Over the comms, Moreno's voice was tense. Maya, you need to extract immediately. We've arranged for a safe extraction point across the canal. Boats waiting. You move fast, or they'll close the net. We sprinted again, adrenaline and fear propelling us. As we reached the docks, a sleek FBI boat cut through the water, lights off, engine silent. We climbed aboard, and I finally allowed myself to exhale. But as the shoreline receded behind us, I caught a glimpse of my father and Victor standing at the hub's gates, watching us. No words, just a look. Cold, calculating, and infinitely dangerous. I realized in that instant that the battle had only just begun. The network was vast, the betrayal deep, and the enemy, my father himself. And yet for the first time, I felt a fire ignite inside me. Fear still gripped my chest, but determination burned brighter. They had underestimated me. They had underestimated what I was capable of. And now, I would make them pay. Because the shadows of bloodline ran deep. But I was ready to dive into them head first, no matter the cost. The water slapped against the hull of the FBI boat, echoing like drumbeats of a war I hadn't asked to inherit. Julian sat beside me, shivering. Not from cold, but from adrenaline, fear, and the sheer magnitude of what we'd just survived. Behind us, the city lights of Amsterdam glimmered like distant promises of safety we weren't allowed to believe in. Agent Moreno's eyes never left the horizon. "We've bought you some time, Maya, but don't forget. Adrian Cross doesn't forgive, and he doesn't forget. Victor Dane won't either. They're ruthless, and they'll come at you harder now." I nodded, my hands gripping the edge of the seat. Fear roared inside me, but beneath it was something stronger: determination. We'd stopped the shipment, yes, but it was only a small victory. The network was vast, the tentacles reaching across continents. My father had built it meticulously over decades, and now he was a cornered predator. "You need to understand something," Moreno continued. "We've got a team tracing every account, every associate, every shipment. But this is personal. He used your name. He tried to kill you. You're not just a witness, you're a target, and the world won't wait for justice. You have to act first." I swallowed hard. Action. That was the only thing left. Fear was a luxury I couldn't afford. 2 days later, we were in a secure location in Berlin. Surveillance footage, satellite imagery, and intercepted communications had pinpointed a new hub, an arm of Adrian's network operating under Victor's direct supervision. The FBI dubbed it Operation Black Widow. My role was no longer passive. I had to be inside, to navigate, to dismantle the operation from within. Julian's eyes were wide. "You're actually going in? Alone?" I turned to him, holding his gaze. "Not alone, but someone has to be the insider. We've neutralized the drones, but the network is bigger. And Victor is dangerous. He knows every contingency. If we wait, we'll be reacting instead of controlling. I can't let that happen." Moreno handed me a passport, forged documents, and a small arsenal of gadgets. "You're Maya Cross again, but a version they won't recognize. You infiltrate, identify key operatives, gather proof, and extract the data. We're tracking remotely. No mistakes." I nodded, my stomach tight. This wasn't just a mission. It was a calculated dance with death, and one wrong step could end it all. The hub was in an abandoned industrial complex on the outskirts of Berlin. Victor Dane greeted us with a false smile, unaware of the trap being set. I walked confidently beside him, masked and calm, pretending to be a compliance auditor from a shell company he used to launder money. Victor didn't recognize me immediately. His eyes narrowed slightly, sensing something familiar. My pulse hammered. I had seconds to remain convincing. "Reports indicate irregularities in the Amsterdam shipment," I said smoothly, letting my voice drip with authority. "I'm here to audit the distribution logs." Victor smiled thinly, unaware I had memorized every detail from our prior data extraction. "Of course. Follow me." The facility was a labyrinth of shipping containers, conveyor belts, and heavily armed guards. Every step was calculated, every shadow a potential hazard. I kept my expression neutral, heart hammering as I scanned for weaknesses, security loopholes, and evidence of Adrian's global operations. I found the internal server room, heavily guarded, but not impenetrable. A single wrong move and Victor would realize the truth. I timed my approach perfectly, ducking behind crates, sliding a lockpick device into the terminal door. It clicked open, and I slipped inside, heart racing. Inside, rows of servers hummed, encrypted drives stacked meticulously. I quickly connected my portable decryption device, fingers flying over the keys. Every code, every log, every shipment record loaded onto the device. Victor's face flashed in my memory, every detail, every lie he'd told, every movement he'd made. And then a sound, a faint creak. I froze. A shadow fell across the doorway. Victor Dane. "You're clever, Maya," he said, voice smooth, but edged with steel. "But clever isn't enough. You should have stayed in Montreal, now. You'll pay." I didn't have time to respond. He lunged and the fight erupted. The room became chaos, metal clashing, the hum of servers distorted by our struggle. Every move was calculated. Every second could mean life or death. I ducked under his grasp, slamming a terminal console into him, sparks flying. He staggered but recovered quickly, like a predator unafraid of its prey. And then the unexpected happened. Julian, who had followed discreetly, tackled Victor from behind, giving me a precious few seconds to finish downloading the data. I ripped the drive from the server rack, the device humming as it stored hundreds of files linking Adrian Cross to illicit arms trafficking, financial crimes, and murder plots across 5 countries. Proof enough to dismantle his empire and put him behind bars for life. We fled the server room, alarms blaring. Victor recovered, fury blazing, and called reinforcements. I realized in that instant that one of the operatives had betrayed us. Someone on Moreno's team had tipped Victor off. Every shadow was a threat. Every step could be fatal. Moreno's voice came over the earpiece. "Extraction compromised. Move to secondary exit. Boat dock 300 meters east." We ran, vaulting over crates, dodging gunfire, adrenaline making our legs feel weightless. Outside, the cold Berlin night hit us, and the river beyond shimmered like a sliver of salvation. Suddenly I saw him, my father, Adrian Cross, waiting by the water's edge. Not alone. Snipers positioned above, guards surrounding him, and a boat ready to take him across international waters. "You've caused a lot of trouble, Maya," he said, voice calm but lethal. "But it's not over. It's never over." I clenched my fists, anger and fear mingling. "You underestimated me. You underestimated everyone you betrayed." Julian grabbed my arm. "We can't fight them all. Go." "Get to the extraction boat." I hesitated, eyes locked on my father. The man who had raised me, who had taught me to ride a bike and read bedtime stories, was the architect of death and chaos. But revenge, I realized, was now a weapon I had to wield. Moreno's boat approached. We jumped aboard, engines roaring to life. Gunfire erupted behind us. Victor fired a rifle, bullets piercing the water near the boat. Snipers tracked us from the docks. I looked back once, and my father's eyes met mine. Calculating, cold, but with a flicker of something I couldn't identify. Regret? Pride? Or just amusement at the chaos he'd orchestrated, at the international pursuit? The FBI coordinated with Interpol, tracking Adrian's escape route through encrypted satellite feeds. The chase spanned across Europe, from Amsterdam to Berlin, then to Prague, and finally to a private island in the Mediterranean, where Adrian had hidden part of his fleet. During the flight to Prague, I studied the data I had stolen. Every shipment, every financial transfer, every operative's identity. The scale of my father's operations was staggering. Families destroyed, governments compromised, lives ended. And yet, amidst the horror, I found a map, a way to trap him. Moreno briefed me. "This is the final opportunity. We have satellite coordination, local operatives, and naval support. But you need to identify him, confront him, and retrieve the final shipment. You do it, Maya. We'll cover you." I nodded, determination solidifying into steel. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about justice. Personal, absolute, unflinching justice. The private island was eerily quiet. The sun setting over the Mediterranean painted the ocean gold, but I felt no peace. We landed stealthily, moving across the docks. The final shipment was stored in a reinforced hangar. Adrian stood at the entrance, arms crossed. Victor was beside him, guns drawn. "So predictable," he said, voice mocking. "You think you can corner me?" I stepped forward, drive in hand. "It's over, Dad. You've used me, betrayed everyone, destroyed lives. But it ends here." He laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "You think this ends with me? There are others, Networks, operatives. This is bigger than us. You're nothing but a pawn trying to play the game of kings. I felt a surge of clarity and rage. No, I'm not a pawn. Not anymore. The confrontation escalated. Hand-to-hand, tactical maneuvers, and finally, a desperate standoff. Moreno's team flanked the hangar, securing positions. In the chaos, Victor was neutralized by Julian, who had grown from terrified accomplice into fearless partner. Adrian attempted to flee with a speedboat, but Moreno's operatives intercepted him. He was captured, enraged, screaming that he had lost to his own daughter. And in that moment, I realized the bitter irony. The bloodline he had tried to use as a weapon had now become his undoing. Resolution and retribution. Back on the mainland, Adrian Cross faced charges across multiple countries: arms trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, money laundering, and countless other crimes. International tribunals convened. Evidence from the servers, shipments, and my testimony dismantled his empire completely. Victor Dane's network crumbled. Every operative was apprehended. The final shipment was safely destroyed. Lives that had been manipulated for profit were spared. Julian and I stood together as the sun rose over the Mediterranean, exhausted, bruised, but alive. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded, tears streaming. "I am. We did it." We stopped him. We survived. Agent Moreno approached, eyes softening. "You've done more than survive, Maya. You've struck at the heart of evil and won. I hope you understand the strength it took." I looked out at the horizon, the wind in my hair. "I understand. And I know this is only the beginning. There's a lot more to fix in this world, but I'll be ready." Months later, I joined the FBI's counterterrorism division, specializing in dismantling networks like my father's. Julian stayed by my side, now a trusted operative in his own right. Claire, who had sacrificed everything to protect me, established foundations for victims of arms trafficking. The blood money my father had amassed became a tool for justice instead of destruction. And for the first time in years, I felt whole. Because revenge had been personal, justice had been global, and survival had finally found its purpose.